وصحبه ومن والاه أما بعد. We are greatly honored to have in our midst our dearly beloved Shaykh and Imam Zaid Shakir, and really and truly it is a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He has honored us with His presence. And I would like to mention here that, as all of you are well aware, alhamdulillah, myself and other of the students of knowledge, along with Imam Hamza and Imam Zaid and others, we have all agreed to have a type of cooperation, a type of mutual alliance, where we understand that the differences that perhaps might exist at a very high theoretical abstract level, they should not preclude our cooperation, they should not preclude our brotherhood, they should not outshadow the fact that we are all Muslims who believe in the same Lord, worship the same God, believe in the same prophets, recite the same book, believe in the Day of Judgment, and so on and so forth. And so, abstract discussions definitely have their places and their times and their methodology, but we should never lose track of the big picture. And the big picture is that we're all Muslims, and it's really important to share much of our knowledge, not all of it. The finer details, inshallah, they can be discussed at the proper time, with the proper methodology amongst the proper people. And so really and truly, it gives me great pleasure. Allah is a witness to this. It gives me great pleasure that Imam Zaid has blessed us with his presence and time to come here in this class that we are teaching and to share with us some of his benefits and jewels and wisdoms. So with that, I hand over to Imam Zaid, and the floor is all yours.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Alhamdulillah, the pleasure and honor is all mine to be here with Shaykh Yasir and to be even briefly able to share part of the wonderful work that the Maghrib Institute is doing. May Allah preserve them and bless them and help them to continue to reach out, especially to the young, the college age, high school age, college age, even professional and working Muslims, but primarily college age Muslims, to provide guidance and direction. And as Shaykh Yasir said, there are things we might differ on, but we don't differ on that. La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. We don't differ that the Torah, or the collective wisdom of our scholars, is the basis of how we understand Islam. So we're not trying to advocate any sort of modernist, revisionist view of Islam. There might be different scholars we place more or less emphasis on, and but we were digging from the same mine, and we're trying to obtain the same objective, and we're trying to preserve this religion as we understand it to have been handed down for us. And we share that we believe Islam is sufficient to solve the problems of modern human beings, that we have to rise to the challenge of understanding it to the depth of those who preceded us. If we can rise to that challenge, we'll find all of the answers that we need here in modern society. So I didn't want to add or detract in any way from the actual class was being taught. So very quickly, I'll just talk about studying sacred knowledge or pursuing sacred knowledge, because that's what I'm sure is motivating all of you for one reason or another, and that's motivating all of us. And my comments will be based on a couple verses of poetry. Imam Shafi'i said, rahimahullah, لن تنال العلم إلا بست فسأنبيك بمجموعها ببيان ذكاء وحرص واستبار وبلغة إرشاد أستاذ وطول زمان. So he said, you'll never attain sacred knowledge except through 6 things. And I'm going to let you know what they are with clarity. So the first, istabar, to have patience. That one isn't going to become a scholar overnight. It's a process that takes a long time. Intellect, a modicum of intellect. One doesn't have to be a genius to study these matters. The course you're having today, you don't have to be a genius, but you have to have a degree of intellect, because there's a lot to memorize. There are a lot of things to understand and in their proper places. So the Calvin was hirs and drive. You have to be driven. You have to be willing. For example, many of you work. So if you're not driven, you're not going to give up your weekends. You're not going to give up your evenings and following up on some of the things, taking time to memorize parts of the Quran, to do the things that are necessary to gain a degree of knowledge. So it takes intellect, it takes drive, hirs, and it takes patience. So it's not going to happen overnight. And it's basically another thing attributed to Imam Shafi'i, rahimahullah, وشكوت إلى وكيع سوء حفظي فأرشدني إلى ترك المعاصي فأخبرني بأن العلم نور الله لا يعجز العاصي. That I complained to Waki', one of his contemporaries, that my memory is going bad. So it wasn't as sharp as it was. He didn't lose it, but it was waning a little. He had to read something twice to memorize it instead of once. So he instructed me to leave off all sin. Arshadani ila tark al-ma'asi, and he instructed me that knowledge is a light. فأخبرني بأن العلم نور. The light of Allah He doesn't give to a sinner. نور الله لا يحزن العاصي. So it's 2 points. One, knowledge is a light, and Allah gives that light when He chooses. So it's not like Western studies where, I'll study for 2 years, I'll get an associate's degree, and 4 years I'll get a bachelor's degree, and 6 years a master's, and 8 or 10 years I'll have my PhD. It's not like that. Some people, Allah Ta'ala opens up understanding and facilitates memorization very quickly, and some people it takes a lot longer time. And the intangibles are related to how pure our heart is, how pure our intention is, what the nature, how free we are from sin. It says, فأخبرني بأن العلم نور الله لا يحزن العاصي. So there are a lot of intangibles that don't come into play when we're studying physics or mathematics or whatever we might study. And there's benefit in all of those things. I'm not trying to belittle them. There are different dynamics in studying sacred knowledge. So, patience, wastibar, wabulha. And if you're going to do it full time, some of you might be inspired from the classes you've taken at the Maghrib Institute to dedicate yourself to full-time study. If you do that, you need a way to have your basic needs met, to have your needs met, because it's demanding and it takes a lot of time, dedication, and energy. And if you have to worry about working and then studying, inshallah, you might obtain your objective, but it might take a lot longer. And also another thing attributed to Imam Shafi'i is that لو كلفت بطل ما فهمت مسألة. If I had to earn a single onion to cook for myself, I would not have understood a single issue. So emphasizing the need to concentrate and focus. But that's not universal. Some people study part-time and overtime to gain very high levels of knowledge. With your Ustadin and the guidance of the teacher. So alhamdulillah, you have an excellent teacher in Zaid Shakir and his colleagues. People who have studied, taken time out of their lives, even altered their career paths in some instances. Zaid Shakir was only an engineer. I think he was for a little while. But he had a higher call. So the dedication, sacrificing, dealing with bad living conditions. You're a student in the Middle East, you're dealing in bad living conditions by our standards. And just dealing with all that and then coming back to share and partake and give you knowledge, also studying in a Western academic setting, Islamic studies, so understanding that side of the ledger also. So, وَلَا نُزَكِّ عَلَى اللَّهِ أَحَدًا, we don't praise anyone. Allah Ta'ala is the best to know what's in our hearts and how we are ranked and arranged. But you have excellent teachers, and that's very important, because the teacher can guide you through things you might not understand. The teacher can save you a lot of time. So you could waste a lot of time reading things that really won't benefit you in a particular knowledge nor benefit you in your akhirah. So the staff can say, you really should leave that alone right now. If you read that book, after you read this one, then you'll read it in half the time and you'll understand it a lot more deeply than if you struggle with that book now, then you're going to have to read it again anyway. So I suggest that you read this book and we'll read it together. So what Irshad Ustad is the guidance of a teacher. وَطُولُ زَمَانٍ, and a long time. That basically this is a lifelong endeavor. You're studying the sacred knowledge of Islam, you jump in the ocean and start swimming. And you never get to the other shore. You die somewhere out there in the ocean. So just jump in and start swimming. So you've all, alhamdulillah, you've jumped in, start swimming, and have a nice swim. Because it's an ongoing, it's a lifelong process. Yes, and in terms of what is out there and anything you've studied, where are you now? It'll tell you, it's still close to the shore. I'm still, my ankles are getting wet. I'm still wading in the sand at the edge of the shore. It's just endless. It's an ocean. If you go to now, balagha, adab, fiqh, just one madhab, you could spend your whole life. And then four, and then going into the madhab of that and what can be gained from them, people like Imam al-Awza'i or others, and studying their fatwa and ruling, that alone will consume your life. If you go into usul al-fiqh, and then usul, qawaid, maqasid, and all of those areas of the overarching objectives of the divine law, jurisprudential, legal principles, legal maxims, each of those areas is endless. So you just jump in and start swimming, and again, have a nice swim. And if I'm out there, maybe ask me, we could share some lemonade, inshallah. But jazakumullah khairan. So I'm not going to take more time from your class, inshallah. I'm going to go out there. Inshallah.
Jazakumullah khairan. I'm very humbled that I'm going to be teaching in front of Imam Zaid. Do you give me permission to teach the students in your presence? If myself is stand up, do you give me permission to walk around because I feel awkward in front of your presence? Okay. Jazakumullah khairan. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه أما بعد. We were doing rule number 3. We can get the slide back on. Rule number 3. Rule number 3. If we can move to rule number 3 on the slide.